So the objective of today's activity is to teach you guys experimental design. And I want you guys to have a bit of fun with it. And that's why we're using one of my favorite subjects, which is chocolate. So the question I have for you guys is, do you think that you can taste the difference between home brand and single origin super expensive chocolate? What do you think? You don't think you can tell the difference? Maybe kind of split down the middle. They're both dark chocolate. These are the two different chocolates. One's expensive, one's home brand. So maybe, we may be able to tell a difference. But how are we going to tell the difference? What kind of things do you think we can look at? I think that we can split it up into two different, I guess, categories as we're describing it. So the first one is before it goes in your mouth. So I'm going to put this up here for now. Okay, so before it goes in your mouth, what are some things that you can tell about it when you're just looking at the chocolate? Smell? Yep. Maybe like melting? Like how it melts? Is that kind of what you're getting at? If it's like, yeah, okay, melt. Okay, what else? Color. Yep, color. Anything else you can think of before it goes in your mouth? Let's see if there's anything else I had on the list. I think you hit most of them. I think there's one more. Oh, snap is the other one. So if you have this piece of chocolate and it snaps, that's a way to characterize it as how it snaps. Now, with you guys, I've actually cut these up into really small pieces already, so you can't physically snap it. So we'll leave that one off. Okay, so tasting the chocolate. What things do you think you could actually taste in the chocolate? Or what properties of once you put the chocolate in your mouth? Taste. Yeah, just taste, just general taste. What about when you put it into your mouth and it melts a little bit, but then that way that it feels in your mouth, okay, that's called mouthfeel. So that's, I know, okay. All right, so that's another way that you guys could describe it, is the mouth feel. So when you put it in your mouth, what is the texture that you have of it in your mouth? Anything else? Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, texture, taste, mouth feel, aftertaste is the other one. So so texture we'll put up, and then aftertaste. Okay. So now what we need to be able to do is we have these different ways that we're going to classify it, but now we have to come up with the different categories within each of these. Okay, so the smell, what are different smells that it could potentially have? Yep. What's another smell it could have? It's chocolate. What other smell could it have? Yes, cocoa. What else? Well, I mean, we've already told you it's dark chocolate, but if it's milk chocolate, it could be milky smell. Okay, what about melting? Let's say you put it in your hand and it melts straight away. What would you say? Slow, fast? Yeah, fast, okay. Just a guess, what's another option? Yes. And just for completeness, we'll do somewhere in the middle. Okay, so if you put it in your hand and it melts straight away, that's fast. If you put it in your hand and maybe it's there for a minute or so, it doesn't melt, that's slow, and medium is somewhere in between. Okay, ideally we'd like to be more quantitative, but we can't necessarily do that in this case. What about color? What color do you think chocolate is? Yeah, brown. Okay, now do we want to add some adjectives around that? What kind of brown? Yep. Anything else? I'll put up mottled, which means that it's patchy. And then these ones we're going to assume are the same. All right, taste. What are some tastes that chocolate could have?
Bitterness.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, it can be strong bitter. So, but you know how when they describe wine, you know, that they say it has fruity notes or honey notes or toffee notes. So chocolate can have all of those things in it too. So if you think about some chocolate that you've had, think about if there's any of those other flavors that you would use to describe other than sweet or bitter. Yep, I like those too. All right, mouth feel. So you take this bit of chocolate, you pop it in your mouth. What kind of ways could it feel in your mouth? Yep. What else? Yep. Tasty? Oh, pasty, yes. Anything else? I think 4 is pretty good. What about texture?
Grainy.
Yep. Smooth. What about cheap chocolate? Think of cheap chocolate. And it's got that like gross aftertaste, and it's a bit oily. So that's another option. I think that's pretty good. All right, aftertaste.
Bitter.
Yep.
Oily.
Well, yeah, I guess you could have that. Salty, yep.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, I think that that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is, can I get one person to help me and pass out the B's? I'll pass out the A's. And then everybody take one piece of chocolate of each. Make sure you know which is A and B. And then as you're tasting it, think about these different things. And then what I'm going to do is a show of hands. And I'll go, okay, for chocolate A, smell, and then you raise your hand if it's sweet cocoa or milky, okay? And then we'll come up with some quantitative data out of this, okay? Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna write in green for the A. I'm gonna go through the A first, all the way across the board, and then we'll switch, and then we'll do all B's, okay? So I want be decisive. None of these little hands up, okay? Big hands up so it's nice and easy for me to count, okay? So for smell, so this is before it goes in your mouth, smell, sweet, cocoa, or milky. Show of hands for sweet. 1. Cocoa, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Milky, 2. Okay. Okay, melting. We have fast, slow, or medium. Okay, show of hands for fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Slow, 8. Medium, 1, 2. Okay. Color, light brown, dark brown, or mottled. Okay, which means it's spotty. Okay, show of hands for dark brown. 10, 11. Show of hands for light brown. 2. Show of hands for mottled. 1. Okay. So now when we get to taste, okay, bitter, sweet, nutty, or milky. Show of hands for bitter. Nobody. Show of hands for sweet. 7, 8, 9, 10. Show of hands for nutty. Okay. Show of hands for milky. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, mouthfeel. Creamy, dry, gritty, or pasty. Show of hands for creamy. 15 for everybody. That makes that efficient. Okay, texture. Grainy, smooth, or oily. Show of hands for grainy. Show of hands for smooth. I'm going to say 13. And are you oily back there? Okay. Okay, aftertaste. Bitter, oily, salty, or sweet? Bitter. Oily. Salty. Sweet. Okay. All right, so that's all for chocolate A. All right, chocolate B. Smell, sweet, cocoa, or milky? Sweet, show of hands for sweet. Nope. Show of hands for cocoa. 13. And you're milky? Okay. Melt, fast, slow, or medium? Show of hands for fast. Show of hands for slow. All right, 14. Color, dark brown, light brown, or mottled. Show hands for dark brown. Okay, 14. Okay, bitter. Taste. Bitter, sweet, nutty, or milky. So show hands for bitter. And that's everyone. Okay, mouthfeel, creamy, dry, gritty, or pasty. Show hands for creamy. That's a nobody. Dry. 9, 10. Gritty. So pasty. 2. Okay, texture, grainy, smooth, or oily. Show hands for grainy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Smooth. 4, maybe. Okay, oily. 4. Lovely. Okay, aftertaste. Bitter, oily, salty, or sweet. Bitter. 13. Oily. There we go. So there you go. We now have a full data set to describe and compare these 2 pieces of chocolate. Okay? So now what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to actually turn these data into a graph. Okay? So I'll give you an example. All right. So in pairs, what I want you guys to do is to make a graph. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of those things. So mouthfeel or taste or texture. Pick one of them that you think is going to be interesting and make it into a graph. Okay? So you'll have your different descriptors on your x-axis. Your y-axis is your frequency, your count of people. And then you'll compare chocolate A and chocolate B. So what we've built here are different profiles of the 2 different chocolates. So if you're looking at these 2 different profiles, would you say that these chocolates are different from each other? Yeah, there's some similarity, right? They're brown, they smell like chocolate, they melt about the same speed, that's fine. And that's actually maybe something that in a future experiment that we could be a bit more specific. So maybe we time how long it takes to melt in your hand, and then maybe there is a quantifiable difference between the 2. Also brown, we could come up with a color chart and put it next to a color chart to decipher different types of brown. Okay, so when we design experiments, we look for those kind of refinements, and then we would do that experiment again to see if we'd be able to see better separation. The whole point, though, here is that we've done this experiment. There is a difference in the profile between chocolate A and chocolate B. Excellent. So we have a quantifiable way of saying these are how these 2 things are different from each other. So can you tell the difference between chocolate A and chocolate B? All right. And which do you think was chocolate A? Do you think it was the home brand or the expensive stuff? It's home brand.
Well, it's better than B.
Yeah. And B here is the expensive single origin stuff, right? Yeah. So, and it's probably gonna have a higher cocoa content in it, and it's gonna be a lot less milky, a lot less sweet, and so that's why when you hit on it being really bitter, I knew it was gonna be the more expensive stuff because it's gonna be more pure chocolate or more pure cocoa. It's for people with a refined chocolate palate.
I clearly don't have that.
Okay, so that's what I wanted you guys to get out of it is you've designed an experiment, you've answered your question, yes, you can tell the difference between them. No, you couldn't necessarily match them. Half of you guys maybe were able to match it to the right kind of chocolate, that's cool. But yeah, you guys have made graphs of your data. Okay, and that's ultimately what I want you guys to be able to do out of this is design an experiment, graph it, and then come to a conclusion.